the other part. When you're that marginalized, I believe every single person in this whole world has creativity. Every single person in this world is an artist, period. My concept of art is different. It's a lot more expansive. It is not about doodling things. It's not about dancing. It's about the creative space. People who are identified as scientists are artists of a particular kind.
Yeah.
It's work is valued because it could be more directly extracted and used and directed in a particular way, right, for the state. And I think that expressiveness, that quality of expressiveness that is so rooted in most people's understanding of art, which is the root of culture, because every human being is participating in culture, whether they're shaping it or absorbing it or reacting to it or whatever it is. We are like co-creating culture all the time. I want to move in a way that allows people to understand the power of that, and that relationship to ownership of the dominant cultures of empire. We can resist it when we understand it as a collective idea, like, and not even like owning, like, what is it, like, this whole concept of ownership equals property is really, like, for me, it was like really blown apart with my my exploration and being pulled into circles of people who are working on indigenous sovereignty. Like, you can't own art once you really, even the artist can't own it. Like, it's such an intrinsic thing. If all of us are artists and someone releases this, someone releases that, it's shaping the space. We get obsessed because we live in this larger structure, and it's like that's the only way we're going to get money and to be able to survive, right? Like, that's ownership in this is a reactive practice of holding on to whatever you can because you've been devalued so much. And if we can, dance has forced me to shift it to begin with, even before I understood the problem, how problematic this concept of ownership and property is in this culture. Because I already knew there's no way for me to own the dance or anyone to own my dance. So it's a funny relationship to pitch dance ideas because, you know, they're looking at videos and selecting this, that, and the other, and they're looking at craft and they're looking at technique and proficiency. And there's a lot of red tape for a person of my presentation, look, interest, and style. My dance body is so fundamentally different because I am in classical Indian dance, and I don't even do classical Indian dance. I contemporized it. It can subvert the empire stories of South Asia, which are very problematic. And so it's so niche that, like, I love it when people give me an opportunity and they give me a few $100 to go on stage for a few minutes, but it's really hard to have a career, you know? And I've had to for myself, because I've also been like, all this work in the community also makes it really difficult for me to create a career, because it's like, either I work on a career and push something that is super niche, which is going to literally take all my energy, or once in a while, I get to open a show, or we think campaign ideas into a little dance that could be helpful to people. And, you know, maybe not really have access to a large studio or anything like that, but it's like, where am I going to put my energy as a person who's also chronically ill? Like, I can't do both. I can barely do one. So those are my thoughts on ownership. I think that ownership, when it's rooted in concepts of reparation and restitution, the reparation for folks who were kidnapped and stolen, restitution for, you know, other marginalized people because of white supremacy, people of color. White supremacy eats you. It eats you alive. And so it's like we're walking around with like all these wounds that are healing thanks to community, but also these like open wounded people. Like we're like walking around like this. And, you know, there's no living wage. There's no basic income. So, and art has historically, even the origins of like art and this concept of patronage, right? It's always empire facing, but I was like thinking like, what happened before the empire? If we're all artists and some people are like, have proclivities to doing things that are more like art as like we understand it today, like making beautiful buildings, doing a dance, making a song. How were they doing this before empire? They were just doing it. They were doing it because it was important in the community. You're like working really hard all day long, you come home, there's a particularly skilled storyteller. You're gonna feed that storyteller. That storyteller is probably also helping out doing other things. But there's gonna be a moment when the fire started, that person knows they're going to go and sit in front of the fire and people are going to gather and they're going to be telling stories. But their community is holding that storyteller to be able to do that work. They may not be doing all of the exact things that everybody else is doing so that they can work on their stories. But the community knows that it's valuable. It's important for them. Empire started, and then people, you know, these big kings and stuff, they needed public relations people. So they pulled these people out to do that work. So that's how it starts becoming, facing these larger institutional spaces. Are institutionals accountable? Yeah, for better or worse, they have to be. But who's going to hold them accountable? The people who are having to do, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just like the whole thing is so comical. Like, I don't know how to like think about it.